Now, there's a couple things in here that I want to change or want to add, and that's because we have two navs, and then we have a section over here. Um, Now, this article will end up having a header, so that'll show up in the document outline, which is also discussed in your reading. But these navs have nothing that will show up in the document outline, and unfortunately, we have to put something in. Even if it won't show up in the CSS, we have to put something in for it to show up in the HTML5 outline. So what we're going to do is go back here to nav, and I'm going to give this an H2, and I will put something in that H2 when I code it up. And this nav will have an H2. And these are strictly, these H2s will not show up. They are strictly, so if someone reads this with a screen reader, they know what this nav section's all about and what this nav section's all about. That's all. Now, we also have, since we have two of the same element, when we're styling, we like to target certain things according to the element we're working with, but we have two of the same thing. So, and they're going to do significantly different things. One's laid out this way, one's laid out that way. We have many, many articles, but they're going to be okay, I think, without doing what I'm about to do to them, to this. And that is, I'm going to give this nav an ID of ID equals main nav. And I'll go ahead and move this to its own line just so we have nav ID equals main nav. Oops, I made a mistake. Main nav needs to either have a dash in it or it needs to have a capital N. You know, there cannot be a space in an ID. And then here we have nav and we have ID equals this is their about nav, I think is what this is, or company nav. I don't know. Now, if the rest of the site had a side nav that, so like say this layout was how many pages were built, then we wouldn't want to call it something like about nav. We wouldn't want to be super specific. We would want to say something more like this, side nav. So it's more, it's easier to identify. It's easy to identify. You know, it's going to do the same thing on every single page, and semantically speaking, you know, okay, it's a side nav. So I think we're going to call it the side nav. All right, now with that, is there anything else I want to do to this before I code it? Oh, yes. And again, this is just my XHTML4 side coming out, but I really, really want to be able to contain the entire layout in a box to keep it all together. And the box has nothing to do with semantics. Well, when you need a box that has nothing to do with semantics to group stuff for design purposes, use a div. Now, divs were completely different in XHTML. They're completely different, totally different usage. We had divs and IDs all over the place. But in this case, I'm just going to do one for now. And if I really need another one, I'll go ahead and put the other one in. But for now, I'm just going to do one around the whole thing. And this shouldn't show up in the document outline, so hopefully it doesn't. Like I said, this is the first time I'm going at this, so who knows what's going to happen. And then I'm going to put right here div space ID equals wrap. And that tells me it's a div that's just wrapping the whole entire document. Because this header section, I can do a lot. I can control whatever's in the header section with the header element, and a nav with an ID of main nav, I can have it do unique things and control this, and over here, you know. So these elements actually work as boxes design-wise to contain things as well as provide a semantic purpose. So the problem is I don't have anything holding it all together, and I know there's a lot of other ways you could get everything kind of moving together, but I like to put a box around the whole thing, and unless I'm shown a way that it seems easy without doing that, I'm sticking with that for now. And all coders have different ways of doing things, so that's my style and that's the way I'm going to teach you to do it. You may learn different otherwise, but like if you look in WordPress, that kind of thing, they're doing it that way. And a lot of sites are doing it that way. So it's not like I'm the only one. By far, this is completely normal and common in the industry. And that's pretty much, I think I'm going to go ahead just because I have a feeling I'm going to have a lot of sections. If I were coding the Ben & Jerry's site for real, I have a feeling there is going to be a lot of sections out there that do different things. And this one, if my layout on every single page has this section in here, maybe I'm going to have another section inside of here. So I need this one to have a unique identification. So I'm going to go with ID equals main content. And I think I'm going to leave these articles alone for right now. I don't know if I have an article that needs to do something special, like this article, the invisible box that the article element creates around all of this should be enough. But now that I think about it, I'm thinking maybe I do need to at least put a class on this. So IDs, I have you read about IDs, that you can only have an ID, you can only have one thing called side nav, ID equals side nav on a page. But what I'm going to do over here, and we won't get to classes for a little bit, but classes, the big thing you got to know now is classes are a way, much like an ID, to identify something. Classes are also a way to identify something, but I can have many of them. And I'm going to go ahead, many of the same thing on a page, because each one of these articles does the exact same thing, and I'm just thinking out how would I do this in CSS, and I'm thinking I am going to need to do something special to these that maybe wouldn't happen to all the other articles out there. So just so I can have other article elements out there doing different things, I'm going to go ahead and give these a class. So this is a way of identifying them for styling purposes only. So class, this is the Our Company page, so I'm going to say Our Company, let me do it this way, article, Our Company. That way I know that this is a class that's used on the article element on the Our Company page. And there's probably on the site, now this is a very old screenshot, but probably at the time that this version of the site existed, there were this format I'm sure happened on many other pages, maybe our value, maybe our history, etc. And that's all related to our company. So chances are this will work on many other pages, but if it doesn't, it works here. And like I said, the difference between an ID and a class, if you didn't pick up on it in your reading, is the class, I can have the same class appear, let me take this way down, I can have the same class appear multiple times on a page. And this is a way of singling out this article element to do what I want it to do. So each one of these are, if I create a style that's targeting this, it's going to affect these three things. But main content, an ID, it has to be, it can only occur one time, the name of main content on a page. It can be, you can use ID equals main content throughout the site, but it can only show up one time per unique page. Same with, this ID, all IDs, that's the way the rules work. So let's go with that, and in our next video, I think we're going to work on actually setting up the code.